What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and today's weekly heat is going to be a little bit different than my usual weekly heats. In fact, this episode is probably going to take a turn for the worst. And that's because in today's weekly heat, we're going to be ranking the shoes that we talk about with either a heat or a yeah, so this started out as a good idea, and then now that I'm filming it, I'm realizing this might be the dumbest thing I've ever done. Regardless, with all that being said, let's dive right into this week's weekly heat and our special heat or edition. Really quick though, I do want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video. You guys know them, they're Sole Premise. Sole Premise makes some of the best bags in the world. They feature all these pockets for your sneakers. In fact, this bag features enough pockets for 5 different pairs of sneakers. It's crazy, and I use this to travel every time I travel. Plus, they're TSA certified, which means you can put them in the overhead bins, you can bring them on the plane with you. You don't have to check them, which is a great thing if you have a bunch of like important, personal, or expensive stuff in there like your laptops or maybe your off-white Jordan 1s. Plus, yo, watch it. Sorry. So if you want to grab one of these bags for yourself, whether it's this backpack or some of the awesome duffel bags that they make or any of their other awesome bags, make sure to click the link in the top of the description below and use my code SETH for 40% off. That's an incredible discount, especially when you're grabbing a bag that's this good quality. So the first shoe that we're covering in today's video is the Air Jordan 1 Low Split. Now as you can see from these pictures, it's essentially a white and black colorway that's split down the middle, very similar to what we saw with the Air Jordan 1 Homage to Holmes back in, I think, 2018. And you know what, in my opinion, the only thing that shoe really had going for it was that it was combining 2 of the best Air Jordan 1 colorways of all time, the Chicagos and the Breds. This shoe, on the other hand, just combines a white and black Air Jordan 1 with another white and black Air Jordan 1. And what's crazy is that while the original shoes kind of look like clown shoes, these ones definitely look like clown shoes. I mean, honestly, it kind of looks like you're wearing a chessboard on your foot, and if you're into that, that's fine. I mean, I totally get checkerboard Vans, but at the same time, this is not a good look for an Air Jordan 1 Low. Now, annoyingly, it looks like Jordan Brand put some really nicely tumbled leather on the upper of this shoe, maybe to draw people towards the sneaker, because obviously looking at the shoe, it's not something you'd ever really want to put on your feet, but I don't think even the seemingly nicer leather will save this shoe. I think this is one of those shoes that's irredeemable. I don't think this colorway is one that will really work out for people, and I definitely see this shoe sitting on shelves for a very long time. As with most Air Jordan 1 Lows that aren't special releases, this shoe does not have an official release date and will probably start showing up in Foot Lockers and stores that are similar over the next couple months. It's whack. From front to back, it's whack. And I'm giving it a yeet. Next up, we've got a first look at what could be an upcoming Off-White Air Force 1, except this shoe is a little bit different than any of the previous Off-White Air Force 1 because it features an entirely sustainable makeup. Based on these images, it looks like the upper of the shoe is made up of recycled foam that's covered in some sort of material to hold it all together, and then the outsole of the sneaker is made up of Nike Grind, giving this shoe a very eclectic and obviously recycled look. Now before I go entirely yeet skeet on this shoe, there are some things that I do genuinely like about this shoe, and the first thing is the concept of the sneaker. I love the idea of making a recycled off-white sneaker. I think that's super cool. However, the way that it was done, I'm not really a fan of it. I do like the addition of those orange laces over top of these standard laces, similar to what we have with the off-white Nike Dunk Lows, but it's not a sneaker that I could really see myself wearing, and it's not something that I would even honestly pick up. So images of this shoe first came out when ASAP Bari put it on his Instagram story, and based on the caption that he used on this story, I can't tell whether he likes the shoe or he doesn't like the shoe. Honestly though, if we're just going off of Sneaker News' heat meter, which is obviously the most precise way of determining how hot a sneaker is, people are kind of hot and cold on this shoe. And I gotta be honest, as of right now, I don't even know how I feel about this shoe. It could be one of those sneakers that I get in hand and it looks significantly better. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. I don't know, I feel like if you had made one part of the shoe maybe a solid color, like maybe dyed the outsole all black or all white, even though it featured recycled materials, it didn't look like it featured recycled materials, and vice versa with the upper. If you had made the upper all one color, even though it still featured that recycled foam, I feel like either one of those options would have looked better than how it actually looks. That being said, there are probably people out there who like this shoe. I'm just not one of them, and for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a yeet. Next up, we've got official images of Billie Eilish's next collaboration with Nike, and that's the Billie Eilish Nike Air Force 1 High. So this shoe definitely maintains the same design style of all the previous Billie Eilish Nike collaborations. This sneaker comes with a fully monochromatic tan upper, and honestly looks like a very flesh tone shoe. And there's something about this shoe that just kind of weirds me out a little bit. I don't know if it's the colorway of the shoe or like the million straps that are used to lace this sneaker up, but something about this shoe just doesn't sit right. And speaking of the straps, why are there 5 straps on this shoe? I'm sure it's stylistic, but why? Now I'm assuming because this shoe is a Billie Eilish collaboration, the sneaker is made up of entirely vegan materials, but who knows? I don't know, there's just something about this shoe that weirds me out. I don't know if it's like the whole like leather situation, if you guys know what I'm getting at, but either way, I'm giving this shoe a heavy yeet. Next up, we've got a first look at the upcoming Stussy Nike Air Force 1 Mid. Stussy has had some pretty incredible collaborations with Nike, most recently the Air Spiridons, which featured a very similar makeup to this brand new Air Force 1 Mid. This AF1 Mid comes with a tan textile upper that features an embroidered Nike swoosh, and while it's a pretty simple aesthetic overall, it definitely fits within Stussy's vibe. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty similar looking shoe to the Billie Eilish's, and honestly, the reason that I put it right after that shoe in this video is to show you how big of a difference some small design changes can make. So the main difference between this shoe and the last shoe that we just talked about is that this shoe only has one strap versus the Billie Eilish's 5 straps. I mean, sure, there's a tiny material difference and the height's slightly different, but really, it's a very similar shoe. And I would be hard pressed to find someone who'd buy the previous shoe over this shoe, other than maybe they can't get this shoe because this shoe would sell out too quickly, which is inevitably going to happen. Now, while I shouldn't really compare this shoe to the previous Air Stussy collaboration because they are two completely different sneakers, I kind of have to because it's a similar colorway and it's a collaboration with the same brand. And while I definitely prefer the Spiridon collab because I think it was a more interesting sneaker, this Air Force 1 Mid actually looks pretty great and is definitely a shoe that if I have the opportunity to grab, I absolutely will grab. Now, unfortunately, there is no official release date for this shoe as of yet. We've only just gotten leaked images, but expect it to release sometime this year. And honestly, because this shoe is so fire, I'm giving it a heat. Now, I feel like this next shoe is almost unfair to put in this video because no matter what, I'm going to give this shoe a heat because it's a New Balance, and I don't think I've seen a New Balance recently that's looked bad. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't remember one. So this shoe is a collaboration between New Balance and Bape and takes place on the 5740 silhouette. And as you can tell from these images, the shoe comes in 2 different colorways, a grayscale, black, white, and gray colorway, and this multicolor look, which does look a little bit crazy, but is definitely something I could see myself wearing. Now, as far as Bape details, there are a good amount of them to be found on this sneaker. You've got the Bape camo on the New Balance logo, you've got the shark teeth on the heel, you've got a bathing ape and the Bape logo itself actually printed onto the heel counters of the shoe. And overall, no matter how you feel about Bape or New Balance, you gotta admit, this is a pretty clean looking sneaker. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the hype for this shoe is reminiscent of the hype for the original Bape Adidas NMDs. When that shoe first released, people were losing their mind, and I think it is possible that people will be almost as excited as that release with this release. I just think Bape isn't as popular as it used to be, but this is definitely gonna be the biggest Bape release of the year, at least in my opinion. And I guess if I had to pick between the 2 colorways, although I really like that multicolor look, there's something about that gray scale with a little bit of red on, I guess, the tongue of the shark teeth on the back of the shoe that I really dig, and because of that, I'm going with the grayscale. And as I'm sure you expected, I'm calling this collaboration heat. Following that collaboration up, we've got a women's sneaker releasing that I'm sure a lot of big-footed guys are bummed that they can't grab a pair of. And that shoe is the upcoming women's Air Jordan 4 in Canyon Purple. Now, if you're not into sneakers like that, you probably will look at this colorway and be like, why is this colorway gonna be so hype? But as I'm sure some of you out there realize, this shoe looks a lot like the Friends and Family Travis Scott Air Jordan 4s that never officially released to the public because, well, they were Friends and Family shoes. And while I kind of hate when Jordan Brand does that, they release a watered down version of a shoe that will never come out just so that people will buy it because of the hype behind it, I'm not incredibly mad at it in this case, and I do think that purple suede used on the upper is hairy, clean, and dope. Now, there are some differences between this shoe and the Friends and Family version of the sneaker. Obviously, like I just said, you've got that super hairy suede, and you've also got this sort of mint chocolate chip thing going on in the midsole and on the eyelets of the sneaker, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't love, but I also don't hate it at the same time, if you guys sort of get what I'm saying. Oh, and I almost forgot, the back of the tongue of the sneaker comes in red, unlike the Friends and Family version, which comes in black, but there are enough similarities to where people will definitely make that connection in their mind and grab this shoe specifically because it looks like the Friends and Family version. Now, for this shoe, unlike a lot of the other shoes that we're talking about in today's video, there is actually a release date, and that release date is August 25th, and the retail price is honestly pretty high at $200. And I don't know what it is, whether I'm a sucker for hairy suede or I'm just a hype beast, but either way, I'm giving this shoe a heat. Next up, in sort of a self-congratulatory release, Nike is releasing what some people are calling the Nike Dunk Low Panda 2.0. The official name of the shoe is the Nike Dunk Low World Champ, which is just as egotistical as it sounds, and is releasing because Nike considers themselves the world champs. I mean, statistically, they're not wrong. They definitely have the most sales when it comes to total sales overall in the sneaker market, but at the same time, come on guys, like that's a little ridiculous. But I guess in almost an unfortunate turn of events, the shoe is actually pretty fire. It features that black and white Nike Dunk Low color blocking, which everyone seems to love. In fact, I think the black and white Nike Dunk Lows are the most popular release of 2021. I understand why, the shoe looks amazing, but in a lot of ways, this world champ Nike Dunk Low is even better, and that's because it seems to feature even more premium materials. On the upper of the shoe, you've obviously got white leather, but that is actually accented by this really nice faux croc skin leather, which gives the upper of this shoe this incredible texture. Plus, you pair that with the gold world champ belt on the laces of the shoe, and this sneaker all around is pretty fire. And again, really the only thing I don't like about this shoe is the sort of self-congratulatory nature of the sneaker, which again, I guess is justified, but still, it kind of bums me out. Regardless though, this shoe will release sometime in 2022. I'm sure it's going to be an instant classic and a lot of people will want to grab it. And of course, I think this shoe is kind of heat. After that, an official release date has finally been set for the upcoming Off-White Air Force 1 mids. Now, as you may have already noticed, there's a lot of Air Force 1s releasing this year, and that's because this year is the 40th anniversary of the Air Force 1. And as we've already seen, there's been some Air Force 1 winners and some Air Force 1 losers. And unfortunately with this shoe, even though it's an Off-White collaboration, I don't think a lot of people are going to be huge fans of it. Now, this Off-White Nike Air Force 1 low seems to come with a black jacquard upper accented by a black midsole. However, one of the things that sort of separate this shoe from some of the other Off-White sneakers that are releasing are the track running spikes that are put on the bottom of the sneaker. Now, they're not metal track running spikes, but they're the more rubbery ones that we found on the Off-White Nike Terra Kygers. Now, traditionally when it comes to Off-White collaborations, that's been a detail that a lot of people have not really liked, and I think that's going to be the case with this shoe, and in my opinion, actually makes the sneaker kind of worse. I mean, let's be honest, you can't really go wrong with a black Air Force 1 mid. The second that came out of my mouth, I realized what I was saying. Even still, it's an Off-White collaboration that features signature orange hits on the back of the Nike swoosh and on that sort of zip tie that you find on the laces, but there's just something about those pink running spikes that just throws the whole design off. I mean, I'm also not really a huge fan of the jacquard upper, but it's really those spikes that throw me off. So I realize this might be sort of a controversial take because this is an Off-White sneaker and a lot of people are fans of Off-White sneakers, including myself, but out of all the Off-White sneakers that have released this year, including the Nike Blazer Lows, which I know a lot of people didn't like, this shoe is just not for me, and because of that, I gotta give this shoe a yeet. Now, it's a soft yeet, but it's a yeet nonetheless. And then for the final story of the day, we're talking about the restock, or I guess the re-release of the Adidas Yeezy 350 in the Turtle Dove colorway, the OG. I honestly never thought this shoe would re-release. Even with all the other 350 V2s re-releasing, I just didn't think this would happen. I thought Kanye was over this silhouette. In my opinion, the likelihood of this shoe restocking or re-releasing was the same as the likelihood of the 750s re-releasing, which I think will never happen. But I've got to say, if these rumors are correct, I am unbelievably stoked on this release. This is a shoe that I never had personally, at least not in my size, and it's a sneaker that I've always wanted. Now, apparently this shoe is not only restocking or releasing, but it's coming back very, very soon, which is kind of crazy. According to multiple news outlets, this shoe is releasing in April. And it is April, so I guess any day now. So the way this information first leaked is through an image that apparently dropped online a couple weeks ago that showed what seemed to be fabric from a Turtle Dove Adidas Yeezy 350. Well, I guess it's not really fabric, it's like prime knit, so it's some sort of knit material, but regardless, it's a new photo of what seems to be spread out on the table knit that looks like it's about to be turned into a sneaker. Now, my first thought when seeing that was, alright, well that could be a picture from like 2015 when the shoes first came out. Why do people think that this is going to be a restock? But then Sold by JC came out with some images of the shoe seemingly put together as a full sneaker that's actually going to restock, and I realized, this is not a drill, this is happening. Which again is crazy because I never thought this was gonna happen, but it seems like it's happening, and apparently it's happening soon. Now, I have no idea if this shoe is gonna be true to the original. I mean, from these images, it looks like it's gonna be just like the original, and as we've seen with some of the other restocks of Yeezy sneakers recently, they seem to be exactly like the original. So for that reason, I would hope and I would think that this shoe is gonna be the same. The one thing that I always wish that they would change, that they never seem to change on these restocks, is the sizing, which is weird to me. Like, why don't you just use a different last? But I don't know why they don't seem to do that. For whatever reason, Adidas sizing on Yeezys is always screwed up. Regardless, I'll deal with the sizing issues if I get a restock of the Turtle Dove. I'm incredibly excited for this shoe, and obviously, I'm giving this shoe a huge heat. Not just a little heat, big heat. But that pretty much wraps up this entire episode of Weekly Heat, Heat or Yeet edition. I would love to know whether you guys like this series or would rather me just yeet it out of existence. Make sure to let me know once again in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.